All right. Hello, everyone. I know it's been a while. It's been around more than 6 months. Sorry about that, but hopefully everyone's having a great first semester, um, great time adjusting to going back to school. Hopefully you guys are taking care of your grades, taking care of your extracurriculars. Make sure your college essays are doing well if you guys are seniors at this time. Hopefully everything's going well. And today or at least I'm going to go over an SAT practice test, more specifically SAT test 3, the fiction section. We're just going to walk through it like we did in the old days, like we did in previous sessions for a while back. And as of right now, the plan would be, or the plan is, just making these videos, creating out these videos, because some of the times I create these videos might be not an appropriate time for you guys. Maybe it's really late. Maybe you guys have homework. Maybe you guys are sleeping at the time. So as of right now, I'll be creating out videos, and as my schedule gets more and more available, I'll start doing one-on-one classes or smaller classes, and then for that, we'll just see how that goes. Excuse me. But yeah, so today we're just going to go over SAT practice test 3, the fiction passage, go over all the basic things. We've covered all types of SAT passages. I'm just going to go over this one again, go over the basic strategies as to what to pay attention to, and yeah, we'll go from there. All right, let me share my screen very quickly. And I'm probably going to go over a few basic things before going into the passage. Just make sure everyone doesn't or did not forget. Or for those of you who are new, I guess these are just new strategies that you guys should employ as you go into the SAT, as you go into your preparation. So today I'll just be going over the SAT reading subsection as a whole, and then more specifically what to focus on when you're working with the fiction passage. So SAT reading, right? Let's just say SAT reading. Right. So remember, in SAT reading, there is 1 fiction, 2 social sciences, 1 history, and then 1 science. I feel like actually no, I lied. There's 1 science, or I mean 1 social science, 2 sciences, and then 1 history. So you'll always be presented with the fiction first. After that, we don't know. Like typically how it goes is that the first section you will be greeted with is the fiction section. But everything after that is up for grabs, because sometimes it might be followed by a history section, sometimes it might be a social science, sometimes it might be a science section, right? First is fiction, then you have whatever comes next. It doesn't really matter. But then there's 1 history, 2 sciences, and 1 social science. Typically, and then there are multiple types of paragraphs or passages. Actually, there's only 2. There's 1 the normal way, right? It's just they give you a paragraph, they give you a blurb, you have to go read through it and then answer the questions. Second one is it only appears once every reading section. It's a dual passage, so the author, the test makers provide you with two paragraphs or 2 passages, and you're supposed to answer questions from both, and then typically the last 2 or 3 questions in that section, it asks you to compare or contrast, or like, hey, this author from passage 1 said this, how would the author from passage 2 react to the statement that passage 1 made, things like that. And of course, we'll be going over those in later sessions, but as of right now, we'll be focusing on the fiction section. So the fiction section, it's rather different compared to its peers, like the social science, science, and history section, simply because social science, science, and history are all based off of real information that they provided to you, that the author provided to you in the test. Now, fiction is obviously, as it states, it's fanciful, like it's fantasy. Right? There's nothing really solid to go off of. But the thing with fiction is that it's not testing your knowledge on any specific topic. Rather, it's testing your knowledge on how do the characters react to a series of events, or how do characters react to other characters, right? What does Steve think of Stan, right? So that's one thing you want to focus about in fiction, right? So the whole point of fiction is you want to focus on two things really. Um, I mean, obviously, there's a multitude of different smaller things like the setting. Why did the author take that setting? Maybe just describe the setting, and why is it appropriate for the author to do this or whatever, right? But two main things that you guys want to focus on is character versus character relationships, right? So what does one character think about another, right? Or how does one character act specifically? Um, then there's character versus actions. All right, those are the two main things you want to study, or main things you want to focus on, because those are what all the questions are going to revolve around. They're going to be like, oh, why did this character do this, or why does the character feel this way towards this action, or why does the character feel towards this way towards someone else, or maybe a character versus character would be like the narrator or the narrator. Why does he or she act this way? So those are just a few things that we'll go over, and then we'll be going over more strategies in future videos for those of you who are my older students. What we've done in the past was we provided a paragraph, right? But typically, what my strategy was we cut the passage into 3 bits, because remember typically how the SAT questions go after you finish the passage is that they're typically in chronological order. So that's typically what I would do. I just break the passage into 3 bits, finish one section, go to the questions, finish the second section, go to the questions, finish the last section, go to the questions. That's typically my strategy, and those are the things I will be doing. But for the sake of clarity and simplicity, I'll be just going over the passage as a whole, no breaking down. Then we'll just be going through the questions as well. And that's it. All right, without further ado, let's get into the passage. All right, so first things first, whenever it comes to any paragraph or any passage, you always want to read this bit right here, the blurb. Right, this blurb is extremely important. Obviously, not always will it be extremely important, like I stated, but sometimes it does give you some solid information. Like it'll give you maybe it might give you a synopsis about the scenario, or it might give you some insight on the setting of the story. So it can get very important. This not only applies to fiction, but also applies to all the other passages as well: social science, and history. Like especially in the history section, they might be very generous and give you like a big blurb explaining what the situation is, right? And that can be very, very helpful. All right, let's start. Lady Carlotta stepped out on to the platform of the small wayside station and took a turn or two up and down its uninteresting length to kill time till the train should be pleased to proceed on its way. Okay, so right now, just obviously basic setting. So the story starts, and this lady, I'm assuming the main character, gets off and just looks around, right? She walks up, she walks down, just tries to analyze, trying to kill time as the train that she got off is going to go away, right? Or is going to go on its path, as it's stated. Then in the roadway beyond, she saw a horse struggling with a more than ample load, and a carter of the sort that seemed to bear a sullen hatred against the animal that helps him to earn a living. So basically, what this is, or actually, I'll just explain it after this paragraph is concluded. So Lady Carlotta promptly betook her to the roadway and put a rather different complexion on the struggle. Certain of her acquaintances were wont to give her plentiful admonition as to the undesirability of interfering on behalf of a distressed animal, such interference being none of her business. So basically, this character sees this person and this horse, right? The horse with a more than ample load. So basically, this horse is carrying more than he should, or like it's exceeding the limit. And obviously, the person who's riding the horse is not being very nice, right? He's being very the way she said, bear sullen hatred, right? So the rider of the horse is not really like treating the horse well with his actions. Now Lady Carlotta is seeming to interfere, because before, like previously with her, or what it says here, certain of her acquaintances, right? So this is what her acquaintances are thinking. It says that she tends to kind of she tends to get into these people's struggles. That's actually none of her business. So she tends to like put her head into things that are not her business, or not not really concerned with her, which is not really a good habit. But that's just what she does. Only once has she put the doctrine of non-interference into practice. So as you can see here, typically what she does, right? She interferes in situations that are not hers, but now it's going to provide us an example in which she just does not interfere, right? She goes against her nature and just does not interfere with anything. When one of its most eloquent exponents had been besieged for nearly 3 hours in a small and extremely uncomfortable May tree by an angry boar pig, while Lady Carlotta on the other side of the fence had proceeded with the watercolor sketch she was engaged on and refused to interfere between the boar and his prisoner. So basically, what happened is that she's just sitting there, right, drawing on her canvas, and there's some guy in the background getting chased around by a boar. That's pretty funny. But on the other side of the fence, yeah. So it is to be feared that she lost the friendship of the ultimately rescued lady. On this occasion, she merely lost the train, which gave away the first sign of impatience it had shown throughout the journey and steamed off without her. So basically, when she kind of recapping on this, the boar, whoever the boar was chasing, was actually a friend in the past. But since Lady Carlotta did not interfere with this, she basically lost her friend, right? She didn't like, or the friend that was getting chased around by the boar did not really like her not being able to help her. But she lost her train, and then similarly, she lost her friendship there, and similarly, she lost the train. So basically, the train that she was going to have to ride on later on, she actually missed it, because I'm assuming because she was just recapping on this instance. So on this occasion, she merely lost the train, which gave way to the first sign of impatience that had shown throughout the journey, and steamed off without her. She bore the desertion with philosophical indifference. Her friends and relations were thoroughly well used to the fact of her luggage arriving without her. She wired a vague, non-committal message to her destination to say that she was coming on by another train. So basically just letting other people know that, hey, I'm coming on by the next train or by another train. Before she had time to think of what her next move was or might be, she was confronted by an imposingly attired lady who seemed to be taking a prolonged mental inventory of her clothes and looks. So basically, there's this lady who just looking her up or down, trying to make sure if she is the person that they're looking for. You must be Miss Hope, the governess I've come to meet, said the apparition in a tone that admitted of very little argument. So basically, you know how you go to the airport and like there's people waiting there. Some people have signs like if you have like a cab ready like before you land, there's probably going to be some guy with like saying like your family's last name or like your full name. Similar to this, right? Obviously, this was in the older times, so they probably didn't have this. So I'm assuming what this person did. This lady came up to Lady Carlotta and said, "Oh, you must be this person, Miss Hope." And obviously, she's not Miss Hope, right? Her name is Lady Carlotta, not Miss Hope. So very well, if I must, I must," said Lady Carlotta to herself with dangerous meekness. "I am Mrs. Corval," continued the lady, "and where, pray, is your luggage?" Okay, so this new character, Miss Corval, is just asking where's luggage, blah, 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 right? And obviously, Lady Carlotta is not Miss Hope, right? She's just not. She just didn't reject that thought. Lady Carlotta is now taking on the persona of Miss Hope. "It's gone astray," said the alleged governess. So the alleged governess is referring back to Lady Carlotta, right? Alleged means like supposedly, right? Like it's not necessarily true. It might be true, but alleged governess. So it's saying she's not actually the governess. Falling in with the excellent rule of life that has the absence are always to blame, the luggage had in point of fact behaved with perfect correctitude. "I've just telegraphed about it," she added, with a nearer approach to the truth. Okay. "How provoking," says Corval. "These railway companies are so careless. However, my maid can lend you things for the night," and she led the way to her car. Okay. Basically, just Miss Corval saying, "Hey, don't worry about it. We got clothes for you if you need it back at the house." That obviously she's not welcomed in. I don't know why she took this persona. During the drive to the Corval mansion, Lady Carlotta was impressively introduced to the nature of the charge that had been thrust upon her. So now she has a bunch of responsibilities apparently given to her by Mrs. Corval. She learned that Claude and Wilfred were delicate, sensitive young people, that Irene had the artistic temperament highly developed, and that Viola was something or other else of a mold equally commonplace among children of that class in that time in the 20th century. So basically, there are four new characters, right? Four new individuals. I'm assuming they're children. Claude and Wilfred were delicate, sensitive young people. Okay. Irene was very artistic, with a highly with our had the artistic temperament highly developed, and then Viola was just someone like anyone else, his or her age, right? Commonplace among children of that class in the 20th century. I wish them not only to be taught, says Ms. Corwell, but interested in what they learn. In the history lessons, for instance, you must try to make them feel that they are being introduced to the life stories of men and women who really lived, not merely committing a mass of names and dates to memory. So basically, actually, let's just finish this. French, of course, I shall expect to talk in mealtime several days in the week. Okay. So basically, these are the responsibilities that are thrust upon Lady Carlotta, or in this case, Ms. Hope, right? Mrs. Corbo is saying, hey, I need you to teach them this. I need you to make sure they're interested in the history lessons that they're taught. Make sure there's not just like reading a textbook, right? Like just the boring way. Make sure they're actually interested in what they're learning. And in addition to that, I also want them to speak French several times a day, several days a week in mealtime or during mealtime. So basically, she's kind of a tutor. This Miss Hope, or Lady Carlotta, is going to be a tutor during her time at the Corbeaus. I shall talk French 4 days of the week and Russian the remaining 3. Okay, this is what Lady Carlotta says, right? Russian, my dear Miss Hope, no one in the house speaks or understands Russian. That will not embarrass me in the least, said Lady Carlotta coldly. Okay, so I'm assuming maybe Lady Carlotta has an understanding of Russian as well. So she said she will talk for French 4 days and then Russian the remaining 3. I mean, Russian, I'm assuming, is maybe her a language that she's well acquainted with. But obviously, this is not what Mrs. Corbel wants, because no one understands, no one speaks Russian at the Corbels. Mrs. Corbel, to use a colloquial expression, was knocked off her perch. So basically, when someone's knocked off her perch, she was kind of like imposed, kind of like, oh, I was kind of taken aback, like kind of like that. Yeah. She was one of those imperfectly self-assured individuals who are magnificent and autocratic as long as they're not seriously opposed. So basically, like when you have a bunch of superficial information, like when you think you know everything, and then like, when someone imposes you, when someone exposes something that you may have overlooked, like you just knock off your perch, like, oh shoot, I didn't actually think about that. Same idea, right? Mrs. Corbel is just the exact same way, right? She has a lot of superficial information, but if anyone tries to impose that, like she can be all that until someone opposes her, right? Until she is seriously imposed. But yeah, the least show of unexpected resistance goes a long way towards rendering them cowed and apologetic. When the new governess failed to express wondering admiration of the large, newly purchased and expensive car, and lightly alluded to the superior advantages of one or two makes, which had just been put on the market, the discomfort of her patroness became almost abject. Her feelings were those which might have animated a general of ancient warfaring days on beholding his heaviest battle elephant obviously driven off the field by slingers and javelin throwers. All right, cool. So basically, this kind of feeds into Lady Carlotta's kind of outspokenness. She says, when the new governess failed to express wondering admiration of the large, newly purchased and expensive car, and lightly alluded to the superior advantages of one or two, makes which just have been put on the market. So basically, Lady Carlotta didn't really kind of like say, hey, you have a nice car, to someone who actually did have a nice car, and basically said, oh, these two models were actually greater and newer compared to the car that was recently purchased by Mrs. Corbell's family. And obviously that was very outspoken and not something you should do. But yeah, that basically concludes our paragraph. So what have you learned? So Miss Corbell, right? She's going somewhere, we don't know where. And basically she likes to analyze her environment, right? She saw like a bullock cart with a rider that really didn't really appreciate her horse or his horse. Then there was a flashback, right, where or typically what we've learned is that like she's very outspoken. Like she tends to put her head into a lot of things, right? She's like where they shouldn't be, right? When stuff is none of her business, she still talks about it. So obviously that's very outspoken of her. Then it feeds into that. Then a lady bumps into her, Miss Hope, or Miss Quarble comes in and she was like, oh, you must be Miss Hope. And Lady Carlotta is obviously not Miss Hope. Then Lady Carlotta takes on the persona of Miss Hope, and then she has all of these new, what do you call it? Kind of responsibilities. Like now she's basically a tutor teaching them history and French, and then a few other things. But yeah. All right. So which choice best summarizes the passage? A woman weighs on the positive and negative aspects of accepting a new job. So although there are fragments of this, which is right. So a woman, obviously Lady Carlotta, and then accepting a new job, right? So those parts are right, right? A woman and then accepting a new job. So basically, this is a new responsibility, a new job. But one thing is that it's not really her job, and nor did she ever weigh the positive or negative aspects. She was like, if I must, I must. So obviously, A is not right because that's not what happened. B, a woman does not correct a stranger who mistakes her for someone else. That's exactly what it is. Lady Carlotta is just sitting there, right, making calls, making sure that her luggage is safe or whatever. And this Mrs. Corwell comes up to her and says, "Hey, you must be Miss Hope." And then Lady Carlotta does not correct her. She says, "If I must, I must." Right? Excuse me. And that's basically what happened. So B looks right. See, a woman impersonates someone else to seek revenge on an acquaintance. She does impersonate someone, so this part is right. Up to here is right. But she does not do it to seek revenge on an acquaintance. She doesn't know these people, right? She has no idea. And nor is she doing to seek revenge. So those two parts are wrong. Because remember, the whole answer must be correct in order for the question to be right. Therefore, C is incorrect. D, a woman takes an immediate dislike to her new employer. No. There's no place where it says Lady Carlotta is like, no, I don't like my employer. This woman comes up to me, I don't like her at all. Like she doesn't have a bad first impression about her. She never says that. That's why your answer here is going to be B. 2, in line 2, turn most nearly means what? Okay, let's go. Line 2. Oh, right here. Okay. So Lady Carlotta stepped out onto the platform of the small wayside station and took a turn or two up and down its uninteresting lengths to kill time till the train should be pleased to proceed on its way. So basically, she took a turn or two up or down the interesting lengths. So basically, just walking up, walking down, just trying to kill time, right? Nothing really significant. So slight movement, not really, because she walked up and down the slight movement. I think is referring to the media definition of turn. So like left, right, like one step in the other direction. That's not what it really is talking about. Change of rotation is literally the definition: turn left, right. Obviously not that. Short walk. That's exactly what she did. She went up one side and then came back the same side, just walking around, right? And that's all she did. She looks really good. Course correction. No, it's not a course correction, mainly because she's just going around, right? She doesn't, there's no definitive course that she's doing. She's just wandering around deliberately. So that's why C is your right answer. The passage most clearly implies that other people regarded Lady Carlotta as what? One of the things that I've outlined or what I found is that she was very outspoken, right? Because what does outspoken mean? Outspoken means that you're very frank, you're very upfront with someone, right? You're very explicit as to how someone is or your thoughts on a specific situation, even if it's controversial, right? So this might be like someone, I feel like this is a very mean example, but you go on Instagram and like you see this girl, like, or you see this guy and like he or she is not looking that attractive to you. But a lot of the comments saying, hey, you look really good or whatever. But then you type or someone types, hey, you don't look so good or whatever. Like that's what it means by outspoken. You tend to put in your opinion on things that don't really regard you. So that's basically what Lady Carlotta does, right? She tends to do that a lot. Certain of her acquaintances were wont to give her plentiful admonition as to the undesirability of interfering on behalf of distressed animals, such interference as being none of her business. That's exactly what it was. That's a perfect example as to why she was outspoken. Everything else doesn't really make sense. Tactful, no. Ambitious, it doesn't talk about how she's ambitious, how she's very courageous into any activity, no. And then unfriendly, not really, right? So this might be a low trick question. Unfriendly means like I guess like very mean. Outspoken is different because Unfriendly means that you just don't want to make an attempt to be polite, be friendly to other people. But obviously that's not one of the personas that Lady Carlotta kind of takes on. She's more outspoken. She puts in her honest opinion on many of the things around her instead of being unfriendly. Unfriendly is a little too objective, or not objective. I guess inaccurate. Okay. So for that, the answer there, I'm assuming, will be B. So which leads us, or I mean A, I'm sorry, which leads us number 4. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? So typically for these type of questions, or not typically, all the time, they'll give you a multiple of 4 lines, right? They'll give you lines, not 4 lines, 4 options with them, different line segments. So A would be lines 10 through 14, lines 22 to 23, lines 23 to 26, and lines 30 to 32. And you have to analyze them and say, or you have to pick whichever one that best supports this argument right here, or best shows that Lady Carlotta is outspoken, right? So in this case, we saw right here 10 to 14, right? This bit right here, yeah, that's exactly what it is, 10 to 14. We saw that was really good, so we're going to leave A. A looks really good. Line 22 to 23. It is to be feared that she lost a friendship, ultimately rescue Lady. No, this might be like a trick pair with unfriendly, but don't get mistaken. This was just one time that she just decided to be not imposing, or like not, she doesn't want to she didn't want to impose or be like outspoken. So B would actually be the opposite answer. 23 to 26. On this occasion, she merely lost a train, which gave way to the first sign of patience it had shown throughout the journey and steamed off without her. Okay, no, this had nothing to do with her being outspoken. This is kind of like just outlaying what happened, right? She just missed the train. That's basically all it's saying. 30 to 32. She wired a vague non-committal no. Again, this is not these are all actions, right? You want to find a line, right, that basically argues for a specific thing. As you can see, line C and line D, they're just actions, or they're just outlining what happened. Like for example, lines 23 to 26 is just saying the train just went off, right? And lines 30 to 32 are just saying that she's just texting, or she's just letting someone know that, hey, the baggage is on the first train, then I'll be going on another train. These are just actions. These don't argue towards her being outspoken, tactful, ambitious, or unfriendly. Your answer here is going to be A for both. So the description of how Lady Carlotta put the doctrine of non-interference into practice, it mainly serves to what? So remember, she put in the doctrine of non-interference into practice. Basically, when she was like drawing something on a canvas, right? Like when you're in nature and when you draw something on canvas. I don't know if you guys just have done it personally, but I'm pretty sure you've seen someone do it, right? There's someone sitting in a park and they're just drawing something, maybe a bird, maybe a tree, whatever. Right. This is exactly what Lady Carlotta was doing, right? So she's drawing something, and in the background, someone just getting chased by a boar. I personally, that was really funny. So does this foreshadow her capacity for deception? So remember, I would think what the test takers are trying to get at here. So deception is basically when she took on the persona of Miss Hope, the girl that she was mistaken by Mrs. Corbel. Remember, Lady Carlotta did not deliberately like try to deceive her, right? She just went with it, right? She was not trying to prove like, hey, I'm Miss Hope. The Mrs. Corbel assumed that she was Miss Hope, and Lady Carlotta went with it. So A is not right. And nor does it feed into any like sort of deception in the future. B, illustrate the subtle cruelty in her nature. She's not subtle. It's not subtle cruelty, because this was just a one-time thing. She only did it once, and she's not cruel in her nature, but because this is the only instance in which this has happened. She provided humorous insight into her character. Yeah, exactly. Right. This was one time she put the non-interference into practice, and this is kind of funny, right? Can you imagine like you just drawing something, you're just ignoring someone getting chased by a wild boar? It's like some type of like Tom and Jerry thing right there. At least that's how I think about it. But then D, explain a surprising change in her behavior. No, this is not a surprising change in her behavior because this was a one-time thing. Remember, she typically interferes in everything she does, but she only put that non-interference to practice only once, right? She only did that once. And then it was pretty funny because some person was getting chased by a boar in the background, right? So it's not a surprising change because she didn't go from interference to non-interference completely. She just went from interference to one time. She just didn't interfere in anything that's none of her business, and then she went back to interfering with everything she does. Right. This feeds into our outspokenness. So answer here is going to be C. Line 55, charge. I'm assuming this is right here. Yeah. So during the drive to the Corvo mansion, Lady Carlotta was impressively introduced to the nature of the charge that had been thrust upon her. So the charge, I'm assuming, is like the responsibility that has been outlined for her. Yeah, A looks really good. B, attack. No, charge is not like Spartan, like charge, not like that. No, charge, not a fee, right? She's not getting ticketed, or she's not doing that. This is just the responsibility that has been outlined for her. And then fee and expense are synonymous, so you can dig them out. Answer is going to be A. 7, the narrator indicates that Claude, Wilfred, and Irene and Viola are all what? Similar to many of their peers, unusually creative and intelligent, hostile to the idea of governance, and more educated than others of their age. All right, so they've been outlined over here. She learned that Claude and Wilfred were delicate, sensitive young people. Okay, so just delicate, young, nothing out there. That Irene had an artistic temperament that is highly developed, and then Viola was something or other else of a mold equally commonplace among children of that class or type in the 20th century. So basically, they're just the same as any of their other peers, right? So A looks really good. Unusually creative, intelligent. Remember, this applies to all of them, right? Not if one kid is just creative, intelligent, everyone else is not that smart or just normal. You can't select that answer choice because remember, this concerns all the kids, not just one, right? So B is not right. See, hostile to the idea of governance. Nowhere does it say that Claude, Wilfred, and Irene are like, no, I don't want to get tutored, or no, I don't want to teach her, no, I don't want that, right? Nowhere does it say that. All Claude, Wilfred, and Irene did, or Claude, Wilfred, Irene, and Viola, all we know is their personalities. We don't know their position on being tutored or anything, because that's not what they talk about. And indeed, more educated than others of their age. No, it doesn't say that. If for anything, it says Viola was more. Viola was, what did it say? Something or other else of a mold equally commonplace among children of that class and type in the 20th century. So basically, she was just the same as anyone else. Yeah, here's going to be your answer. 8, the narrator implies that Miss Corbel favors a form of education that emphasizes what? Traditional values, active engagement, artistic experimentation, and factual retention. Okay, so remember, Mrs. Corbel kind of put an outline, right? She just said she doesn't want them to only be taught, but she wants them to be interested in what they learn. Make sure they know that these are actually people, men and women who've lived in the past, right? Not just a history book where it just says, oh, here's a date like Abraham Lincoln died this, or this was when the Civil War was, or whatever, right? She wants them to be actually interested into the stories of these men and women. And then French is to be spoken during mealtime several days a week. So that's basically applicability, right? She wants French to be spoken very, very frequently. So she wants it to be emphasized. She wants it to be kind of practiced very frequently, very religiously, right? Those are a few things that she outlined. Traditional values, no, it doesn't really talk about culture or anything. So it's not right. The active engagement, that's exactly what we're looking for, remember? Because she said that she wants French. She wants French to be spoken during meal times several days a week, right? That's one very important thing. See, artistic experimentation. No, it doesn't talk about art nor artistic experimentation. And then factual retention, that's dead wrong. Because she said she doesn't want the students or the kids just to know men and she doesn't want them just to know a mass of names and dates. That's factual retention. She doesn't want that, right? That's the exact opposite. She just wants it to be interesting, make sure those are things that make sure the kids know that they're people who have lived in the past, and make sure it's an interesting topic. As presented in the passage, Miss Corbel is best described as what? Superficially kind, but actually selfish. Does she go up to people and say, "Hey, I'm really," or like, does she act like a very nice person? But in actuality, she's just very selfish. No, it doesn't say that. Nor does it imply it. Outwardly imposing but easily defied. So this actually comes back to the where she talks about um yeah, when she was knocked off her perch, right? It says she was one of those imperfectly self-assured individuals who are magnificent and autocratic as long as they are not seriously opposed. So they're all big and everything. Um, so they're all big. They have this huge persona and everything. They think they're all that. But as soon as someone says something that is exposing, or as soon as someone challenges them, they become seriously opposed, right? Or seriously opposed. Excuse me. But that's basically what she is. That's Mystic Oracles. Um, that's her attitude. So he looks good. So yeah, and she is easily defied and imposed, basically synonymous, or opposed, or basically synonymous. Socially successful, but irrationally bitter. No, it does not say anything about her being socially successful at all. Does it say that she's a great public speaker? Does she say she's a great politician? Does she say anything socially related? Nothing. Does she say she's an influencer on Instagram? Probably not. This is 1911, right? Naturally generous, but frequently imprudent. So naturally generous, obviously, was saying, hey, you get this, you get this, you get this, right? But that's not the case. There's no instance in which she is really generous. Like she's not giving Kit Kat bars for free, or she's not giving a bunch of Kit Kat bars or whatever, right? I mean, obviously not Kit Kat bars specifically, but it could be anything, right? And she's not being generous in that nature either. So that first part is wrong. B, both outwardly imposing and easily divided, both correct. Finally, that gives me, this is just a second question, basically trying to find evidence. So which one shows that she's outwardly imposing but easily defied, right? 49 through 50 is right here. How provoking, said Mrs. Corbel. These railway companies are so careless. No, this is Miss Corbel talking. This has nothing to do with, yeah, wait, no, I was right. My bad. Yeah. This is Miss Corbel. 49 through 50. Again, this is just her talking, just saying, whatever, right? Line 62, 68. Where is it? I wish them not to be interested. I wish them not to only be taught, but also interested in what they do. But yeah, so again, nothing showing that she's outwardly imposing, but easily defied. Like it's not saying, yeah, I guess it shows her being outwardly imposing, but nothing about easily defied. And remember, we have to show both. 70 to 73. I shall talk French 4 days of the week and then Russian. Okay, now this is what Lady Carlotta is saying. Obviously not making any sense. I shall speak this and this, but no one speaks Russian, right? This has nothing to do with being outwardly imposing and easily defined. This is Lady Carlotta's speaking, not Miss Corbel. And then finally it leaves us with D. So regardless, it's going to be correct. But 77 through 82, perfect. Mrs. Corbel. Oh wait, I lied. I mean, might as well get some context when you do this, right? Mrs. Corbel, to use a colloquial expression, was knocked off her perch. She was one of those. She refers back to Mrs. Corbel right here, right? She was one of those imperfectly self-assured individuals who are magnificent and autocratic as long as they are not seriously opposed. That's exactly what we were looking for. The answer is going to be D. And yeah, that's how you do SCT practice S3, the fiction section.